I'm super excited to have my brother from another mother, Cas Thompson, on the Passion Bound Art Show. Cas, welcome.
Hey, glad to be here. Thanks, Daryl.
Always, always. So we're gonna jump right in. All
Let's
right.
go.
What are you most excited about right now?
Right now, I'm most excited about, and is this in business, in life, everything, like just everything or
Anything, any and
anything?
everything.
Yeah, I'm excited about the new year, closing out 2022, being grateful for that. A lot of learning experiences happened this year. This is probably one of my most challenging years. I haven't put that
Mm,
out publicly, but very challenging from multiple standpoints, but very excited about, the next year, the new year, going, 10 times harder and really, finding a way to find more balance. And when I say balance, that's family, that's spiritually, that's in
mm.
business. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm doing everything that I can, taking multiple levels of action to just control my destiny.
I love that.
Yes,
So
sir.
anything that you got on balance, send it my way.
Okay. I like that.
I'm
That's
struggling
fair.
with balance, man.
Struggling with balance? Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think I have any balance. My thing is
really.
like whatever the thing is at that moment is getting all my energy and
Right.
whatever else is not.
Yeah, yeah. And I've
Uh,
heard that though. And not to interrupt, but I think we spoke on the first podcast about a book that I love called The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. We spoke
hmm
about that. And in that book he talks about multiple levels of action. And that's one of the things that I take from that. But he also, and I don't know what chapter it is, but talks about the fact that there is no such thing as balance. Exactly
mm,
what you just said. He's like, whatever he's doing at the moment, he goes in 100%,
hmm
which makes sense. But when you zoom out of that, I think what we're looking for is making sure that we are prioritizing the things that we need to prioritize.
Right.
Uh, you know, using different buckets of time to prioritize them. Yep. So, but
Yeah.
he also agrees that there's no such thing as balance. He said literally 100% family, 100% business. I don't know how that math works because we only have 100% of time. But yeah, I think his point was, hey, just try to make sure that you're going equally as hard in the two things that you're trying to balance.
I think that my biggest struggle with that part is like most of the times it's the family part that
Yeah,
gets the less of it. You know
right,
what I mean? That's I think if it was not saying I wouldn't feel anyway if it was business, but I never
right,
lose sleep when I don't give business as much time as I quote unquote should. I should. I
right,
never lose sleep for that.
right, right, right,
So
right.
yeah,
Yeah,
it makes
I've
sense.
I've definitely been there. I know that your children are much younger than mine,
hmm
and just being honest and open and vulnerable. I made a lot of mistakes when my kids were your age and missed out on a lot of time. Like we're good now, we're spending as much time as possible, but they're older, right? So
Right.
I'm not saying that I missed 100% of their games or anything like that. We definitely had good presence, but I was in hustle mode, corporate mentality, trying to be number one. And there are a lot of times when I had to give something up, right?
Mm,
I had to give something
right.
up to go hard at work. And especially if you are a competitor and a winner, and
hmm
you're focused on whatever KPIs there are at work,
Right.
right? Or even if you're running a business, you know, in the moment you're thinking, hey, I'm doing this for my kids, right? But the thing is the kids don't know, right? So when you're not there, they don't know what you're working for, because
Right.
all they want is your time and attention and presence.
That's
So
true.
yeah, so it is tough, and I don't know if I have the answer other than something that you need to think about daily, like how to really fix it, right? How to
So
prioritize. Yep.
so how do you get up from I guess there's two different things, but first, how do you get up from mistakes, and if it's different, how do you get up from like struggles?
All right. So like I said earlier, like made a lot of mistakes. I don't think you could win without making mistakes, first of
Mm,
all. So, if anybody's listening and you're like, hey, you know what, I'm struggling, I'm making mistakes, there are no wins without struggles. There are no, success stories without, any obstacles in the way. It's always darkest before dawn, right? So any good superhero fan will know that you have to go through something, right, to
Right.
make it out good on the other end. For me, it's getting up as quickly as possible and not dwelling in my own self pity, right?
Mm,
We're not turning this into a pity party. It's not woe is me. It's not complaining. Try to find 2 or 3 people, if that's your spouse or friend or business partner, that you could vent with. I think you do need to let it out and communicate and seek feedback. This could be a coach or mentor, but 1 or 2 people, but you don't need to run to social media. You don't need to put it out there like, again, woe is me, I got this problem. I think the way that I've always overcome struggle is communicating it to that 1 person or 2 people, talking it through, and then in the communication, literally working on or talking through the action that you're going to take to overcome the struggle. Right?
mm,
What was the learning experience? What was the teachable moment from that struggle? Who's accountable? Right? Is it you? Is it something you could have done different? So really, just owning it and making sure that you're acknowledging it, and then moving on. Putting things in place to prevent that from happening again, even if it wasn't your fault.
right.
So just always being able to own some part of the piece of the fall.
I think one of the things that I can say has helped me is that, like, I'm always approaching most struggles, most conflict as if it was my fault.
Mhm.
Even if I know for sure it's not my fault, but I approach it in that way because I'm trying to take responsibility on how to figure out how to get out of it or fix something or come up with some kind of
Of course.
solution.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
usually what I do.
Yeah, that's a mentality though. Because believe it or not, it's even if it's not 100% your fault, you do own a piece of the struggle. If you're faced with the problem or the obstacle, just the fact that you made a decision to be there, or if it's a relationship thing. And when I say relationship, it could be a work relationship or something that happened in a meeting. The fact that you're in the meeting, it
Right.
was still your decision, right? So the fact that you chose to participate in the actions that led up until that point, it's still yours. So I think you're on the right path though. By you can't solve anything without ownership.
And I just think, like, having the ability to want to create a solution, and mind you, not everything has a solution. Sometimes a solution is just like, I got to just get away from this, right? But I feel like having the mentality to, how can I be a solver or a pro in this situation, I just don't think is a normal thing. I think most of the times people are like, okay, excuses. Oh, I did they didn't do this, or it's like the whole idea of getting to work late and you said, oh, there was an accident on the
Right,
street. And it's just like, and I get it, but it's just like,
right.
if you say, okay, how can I leave a little earlier to make sure that if I run into this situation, I won't hit this problem.
Right, right. I think you hit something on the head that I was thinking about too, called mindset. I mean, it's also having that ownership mindset that everything that you go through in life is just a result of the decisions that you made. Once you start thinking like that with everything, it solves a whole lot of other problems for sure. Because you just hit it on the head. Like you can easily wake up and be like, oh man, look at this school bus in front of me. This is going to slow me down. But if you're already thinking about that, that means that you haven't proactively thought about worst case scenarios.
Mm,
And if you just get into a mindset of practicing thinking like that, you'll you'll run into problems a lot less in
yeah.
everything, in traffic, in communication, relationships, in business, where
Hmm.
you're always going to be thinking proactively. What if I go down this path, what could possibly happen, and what can I do to prevent that from happening?
And again, it's not going to be like 100%, and it's not going to be foolproof, but I just think it creates one, more freedom in how you operate, and two, most of the times you'll be ahead of the game.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
So I know one of the things we wanted to talk about was just like local businesses, I guess, and I was thinking slash like small business, like starting, but more so growing a local slash small business. I know you're a part owner in a restaurant, and I think you also do you own the event place right out, or
Yes.
your part owner?
Now, own it straight out. So yeah, full ownership there. So, those are the two brick and mortar businesses that we do have right now. And we recently, my wife has a tax office as well
Right,
as an
that's
accounting
right.
firm. Yep.
Right.
So that's also brick and mortar location. We recently closed the doors on those though. To earlier I was talking about some of the decisions we had to make this year, and in business, and I'm going to allow you to get to your
Nah, go
line of
for it.
questioning. The number one thing that you're always looking for is just expenses. Running a business is expensive, right? And you're constantly in a position where you're just doing the math on what makes sense. How are you acquiring customers, and how are you fulfilling on the needs of the customers. That's the two equations. Like, how are you acquiring them, and the cost associated with that, and what goes into fulfilling the service or product that you're delivering to the customers that you're acquiring, right? And the math wasn't working out to
Mm.
to have a brick and mortar location for something that we could be doing virtually.
Hey,
It's
bro.
yeah,
Listen, I'm a full proponent at that. I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
I only tell people like, if you're doing brick and mortar, like it gotta be absolute, absolute, absolute. Otherwise, you're gonna
Yeah.
try to your best to make as much money outside of that before you even go there.
Right, right, right. Because just maintaining it is expensive. And I think that there is a place for it though. And it's not something that we're totally abandoning. But I think just looking at our 5-year plan with those businesses, there's a way for us to scale it up leaner, right? And
Mm,
get to that place. And then by the time we get to that place, everything that we're doing, the cost of acquisition for customers is going to be less than at that point in 5 years. So the toughest part in the first year is the cost of really acquiring customers. But that cost goes down over time just due to like market share, just due to testimonials, due
hmm.
to repeat customers. So every year the cost of you acquiring a customer should be less if
Right.
you're doing your marketing and your operations correctly. So I think we will get back to that point. And we've been studying different models. The pop-up model is good too, where just having a location for a short period of time, maybe a couple of weeks or a month, is viable. And then the other pro is that, well, it's not a pro in regards to the fact that COVID-19 was devastating. So that part was a disadvantage for a lot of people. We saw people not make it through. But from
Right.
a business standpoint, people are now more aware of and just used to connecting virtually. Right.
Okay.
So, yeah. So 3 years ago, if you're like, hey, you know what, send me your tax documents virtually, some people might have shied away from that. Now it's everybody's okay with sending proprietary information online. It's not, they don't think
It's
twice.
crazy.
It's crazy. Yep.
And you know what the thing is, why it's so crazy to me, because I've been living in that world for such a long time.
Hmm.
Like I've went through the mental shift, and I know you have, a
Yeah.
long time ago.
Long time ago. Right.
So now, like when I hear people talk about it, I'm
Yeah.
like,
We've been
it,
doing this. Right.
but I mean, it's a good thing. But
Yeah.
it also, what you run into is like, we've also like failed when less people were doing it.
Right.
In a sense, like we went through the learning curves a long time ago.
Oh, right.
And
Exactly.
you but the thing is, it's so sped up now. People are doing more serious things virtually, which now without the education, they make
More
more
mistakes.
serious, and more serious
Yeah,
mistakes.
devastating. Yep. Yep.
So it's just always funny to me. But I'm gonna throw something at you, right?
Yeah. Hit me.
So people, one, a lot of my family is in the culinary catering cooking part of the industry,
Right.
and they'll ask me like, Daryl, what you would do. And this was my thought in regards to having a restaurant. Like I wouldn't I for me, especially starting out, during the week, it would be one of two things: catering or a delivery service.
Hmm.
That's the only thing I would do during the week. And on weekends, my thought process is, between Friday and Saturday and Sunday, especially in the South on Sunday,
Right. Right. Sure.
people are always going out to eat.
Right.
So I would create a space for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday and make it more of an event. So it's like an event driven restaurant. I'm doing catering and delivery service during the week, but I'm only doing some kind of event. I'm only using a brick and mortar on the
For it.
weekends only and make it more okay, an experience, for lack of a better word. That was my thought process, and that's the only thing I would do if I ever went into the food industry.
Right, right, right.
What you
I
think
would
about that?
now. I think that I would co-sign 110%. So obviously, so we opened up the restaurant in 2018, and again, numerous struggles and learning curves, etc. But wouldn't change anything. And but again, let's talk about COVID. So and the pandemic. So right now, food delivery service is up. I can't even throw a percentage out there, but once people got locked down, I think that February or March, DoorDash, Uber Eats, all delivery service like sky high. And I started thinking about this model too, not for the restaurant, but for if we had to do it again. That we didn't think about the weekend piece that you just put in, but I'm going to get back to that in a second. But we have a client right now on the accounting side, that two clients that have full service virtual kitchens, and
Mm,
all they do is catering, DoorDash, Uber Eats. I just listened on another podcast. I want to say it could have been My First Million, about another series of pop up restaurants in uh, in the West, on the West Coast. There is no restaurant at all. There's no LLC. There's an LLC, but they'll start out just cooking at home or in a virtual kitchen and going straight to DoorDash. So there's no, you could call it whatever. It's a little scary because I'm sure eventually what's going to happen is the food authorities in those cities are eventually going to get involved,
hmm.
right? And they're put in place to make sure that people don't get sick, that people
Right,
come
right.
out and investigate, look at your kitchen to make sure it's
Hmm.
you're cooling down and heating up food properly, sanitary. So I think, I don't know how long that can last,
Right.
but I understand how anybody right now that has the desire to get into the food industry to go that route, because it's also a good way to verify. So even before I get to that step, I would just start an Instagram page called blah 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 kitchen or blah 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 catering, and
Mhm.
just start off low, like small meal prep. Just do meal prep for friends and family. Again, build up your base, validate two or three signature dishes, because that's what's going to really push you over. For us, when we opened up the restaurant, it was like the jerk chicken rolls, things like that, things that were so unique. Oxtail tacos. So come up with some like unique, menu options, and then just validate it in your circle, family, friends, church, and then if it's taking off and you're getting good reviews, move to the next phase.
I like that. And one of the things I like about the whole meal prep idea is building like digital products for that, building some kind of email subscription. I
Right.
know this person, they were doing juices, and and the advice I gave to them was like, build the juice recipes, like build it out, build a whole digital thing for the juice
Right.
recipes, and give that to people
Yeah.
and build your email list. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean? Eventually, you can start doing something. You can scale that to something else. You know
Right.
what I mean? But I
Right.
feel like that's why I like those type of things, because you
Yeah. Yeah.
could build, because that's content. That's important content.
Right. Exactly.
All they see you do is make it, but you'll be surprised. People don't know how to make these things.
Right, right, right. And here's the thing too: if you're scared of people, just stealing your IP or stealing, your recipes or what have you, don't don't be afraid of that. Like, because I'm gonna tell you why. And I had to learn in the past 2 or 3 years. I had to learn this in business too, because there's certain things like I'm one to give away, but
Hmm.
then I was always holding pieces back, right? But what I've
Hmm.
learned in business, that you could give everything, you could give the whole house away, and people still don't have time. People pay for implementation, they'll pay for convenience, they'll pay for delivery, they'll pay for execution. So people, even if you give them the whole recipe, maybe they don't want to run to the store and buy all the ingredients. Maybe they have no time for blending. Maybe they
Hmm.
don't want to clean it up. Maybe they just want 6 bottles now. So you're absolutely right. Giving away the recipes. I'm following tons of you know, Instagram chefs is what I call them, like
Bro,
online and on TikTok. And
same.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, like and they're giving away the recipes, and
Hmm.
it's making me want to cook at home. But now it's to the point where I'm following them so much that if they drop a digital product like a recipe book, I wouldn't mind paying whatever dollar amount to get more from that creator, right? So it's part of the creator economy. And just to go back to the other piece that I said I was going to tie up with the events. So the event piece is 100% correct. That's how we got into the event space business to begin with. 'Cause at the restaurant, we noticed that events were triggering a different type of need in the community, and people are fascinated by going up to experience something unique. It's a one-time thing, and it could be, when I say one time, it could be once a month, but
Hmm.
they don't know if that it's that one time for them, even if it's something that's happening, weekly or monthly or what have you. But people do want experiences over everything else. Then when you combine experiences with food, put that together. So you're absolutely right. Being able to do something on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, perfect. I say somebody's just starting out, maybe like once a month, just to be able to validate the idea
Hmm.
and not lose money. But you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think I'm just always thinking like avoid like brick and mortar as long as possible
Yeah, no, you're right.
until you have to. You know what I
Until
mean?
you have right,
Until like people want to be in your space more often. Let the world tell you, especially in
right.
this day and age.
Yeah, especially this day and age, for sure.
Let people tell you that I want to be in your space by asking, by even like people will tell you. They will
Yeah,
even
they will.
somebody will say, I wanna help
Yeah,
pay for it."
yeah.
Like
Oh, for
people will tell you,
a
you
thousand
need
percent.
to have a space that I
Right.
can come
I want
to
to
because
show
I
up.
want
Right.
to experience this.
Right. Right. No,
And
I 1,000% agree with you.
right, so you already got the brick and mortar space, right?
Hmm.
I got this brick and mortar space. It's not doing as well as I would like. How can I leverage? I got a pizza shop, you know what I mean? How can I leverage the internet to grow my spot?
Okay, that's a good question. I think it comes in two or three pieces though, and we already brought up one of them. So I'm going to start there and then reverse engineer it. People want more than food, so let's stay on the example of pizza. You could get pizza. Every 2 or 3 blocks you could get pizza, right? And we're talking about local. And then on top of that, the local pizza owner, they're also battling Domino's, Pizza Hut, Papa John's, right? So they're battling franchise chains that have all this money, right,
Hmm.
to throw at marketing, and they also have brand recognition. So earlier I talked about, hey, the longer you're in business, the cheaper it is for you to acquire customers. So those three that I just mentioned, those pizza chains, they've been at this for 10 plus years, right? So you probably have an app, you have rewards. So if you're already in their system, it's easier for you to do that. So now you have to acquire brand new customers in your community that want to show up, right? So what I would do is I'd market something that's signature,
Mm.
right? So something that those other chains just don't provide. And then what we just talked about, I'll turn it into something that's event based, right? So once a month, once every Tuesday, you could do karaoke. So it has to be something there that's driving me to come to you besides the pizza, right? Because
Mhm.
again, if you have a family, maybe my kids love coming here because every Tuesday night is coloring book night. So it's
Mhm.
not even the pizza anymore. It's family time and you're selling time with family, right? So I'd market that. If you have something signature, in Atlanta right now, you have a place called Plant Based Pizza. I'm not, or Plant Based Pizzeria. In the past 4 or 5 years, being vegan and people looking for vegan food, looking for healthier options, has been not just a catchphrase, it's become a lifestyle, for
Mhm.
people that just want to eat and live healthier. And they opened up this pizza shop that's all plant based. So that's an example of something that's unique from a menu standpoint. So they have a pizza that you can't get from like a Papa John's or Pizza Hut. So people are going there because they want to experience the taste of pizza but vegan style, right? So that would be an
Mhm.
example of something that's unique. So once you have those two things figured out, something unique, and then you're combining events or something special that's happening on a recurring basis, I'd go crazy on visuals, right? So when I say visuals, both of those things. So if you have the pizzas and they're vegan, pictures, videos, testimonials, people eating the food, you hiring influencers to come in and do any type of review, right? So now you're using other people's network, right? So I'd probably hire Atlanta Food Guy. So Atlanta Food Guy came through to the restaurant, and just from him coming and then featuring us on his feed, he has like 80,000 followers. Now we're getting extra marketing that's natural, that seems organic, right? But that's those are the three things that I would do to market any new local business, regardless if it's a pizzeria, a boba tea shop, any type of food that you're selling. People just need to see it. They need to see that people are having a good time, and then it needs to be validated by the fact that they see other people going there also having a good time.
Okay. So in regards to the influencer, did you have to pay him to come out there and review it?
Uh, and I'm not going to give away too much of his secrets. Yes and no.
Okay.
So he came out there out of love the first time because, all right. So yeah, this will clarify what I'm trying to hold back in saying. You can't pay for a good review. So let's say
Right.
that. So he's
Okay.
going to come out there,
Hmm.
but your food got to be good.
Right.
So let's him specifically. So I know him personally. That's
Right.
Chris. I just linked with him. We were following each other based off of something else, photography. So we had a relationship before the restaurant
Hmm.
opened, right? So then I invited him out, and then he has packages. So if you
Hmm.
do need like reels, if you need TikToks, you could
Hmm.
definitely support him because he has a business too. So I do
Hmm.
support you reaching out to him if especially if you're in the Atlanta area.
Hmm.
Yeah, but just know that the first priority is that your food needs to be good.
And the reason why I bring that up is because like I feel like nowadays in this current market, whatever, if it's a product, whatever type of business, if you can tap into the influencer piece of it, it will it will probably do better than any type of advertising that you can ever think about doing. If you can tap into, like, say for example, these hats that I
Hmm.
have, I get 10 influencers to wear it, talk about it, and they have a large following. That will do better than any Facebook ads or
Right.
Instagram ads
Hmm.
or Google ads that I can ever do. That's kind of why I wanted to kind of tap into that,
Yeah.
because I just feel like we haven't really realized that we don't all get it. Why would
Right.
someone pay? Why would people want to? Why so much people watching these influencers? Why are we using
Right.
influencers? Not everyone gets it, but the numbers just don't lie.
The numbers don't lie. And a matter of fact, I'm on the other laptop. That's why I'm looking this way for people that are actually watching the video. And I want to bring up if you're in this position, especially if you have like an e-commerce brand, right? And I always like supporting other creators and other business owners. I want you to check out Support Black Colleges. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the brand, Daryl, but two brothers that have done an incredible job of turning their small local brand into a nationwide, probably international brand. And it's the Support Black Colleges brand. And one of the things that they talk about as they give out knowledge and ways for people that have smaller brands to build up is using influencers, using finding ways to get to celebrities, trying to find ways to get their clothing on people that wouldn't naturally be seen with the clothing on, because once a celebrity wears your outfit, right, now that has a reach far beyond what you could spend in Facebook ads, Google ads. The word influence itself is super important because they're literally influencing their fans to let them know that, hey, this is the cool thing right now and you need to get on it because I'm wearing it, right? So
Right,
people are now the brand, if that makes any
right,
sense, right?
right.
So yeah, I
And
agree.
I think we need to think about it as if like how we would do it personally.
Hmm.
If I say to you, "Hey, Cass, bro, I just found out about this cool camera,
Hmm.
bro. I think it will do you. You trust me, you know
Right.
me, you're gonna check it out." It's the same thing, just on a
Yeah,
larger scale. I
it
hear
is.
about a sale that, I don't know, Old Navy is having, and my wife tells all her friends and all
Mhm.
my mother, everybody's gonna go. It's the same
Right.
concept. It's
It's the
just on a
exact
larger scale.
Yeah, it's the exact same concept. And the word that you just brought up that's super important is trust. Like
Hmm.
if I already follow this one influencer or celebrity or whoever this person is, I already trust them, right? I trust their style and their fashion sense. I see that they're wearing it, and people don't really. They're not going to say this out loud, but there's also an appeal for us to be like the people we admire that we see in the media, and good or bad. And it doesn't matter who it is. It could be The Rock. It could be Barack Obama. So
Hmm.
if I want to feel presidential, I want to feel like an executive, and Barack Obama dropped a line of suits.
Say
Who
less.
Right, say less. Like who would not? I wanna feel confident. I wanna, because he has a brand that inspires confidence, right?
Hmm.
So automatically I'm gonna be like, okay, where can I get the suit?
Right.
How can I support him? Because I wanna feel like how he looks,
Hmm.
if that makes any sense. So now you're 1,000% right. And right now, people are tapping into social media more than they're tapping into, watching TV like live. So media is shifting and advertising is shifting. So the influencer economy, the creator economy is on the rise. So anybody right now that's opening a brick and mortar or any business, allocate part of your budget to influencer marketing. Sure.
Yeah. And because the funny thing is, that's what these big companies are doing.
Yeah.
Like,
Finally, they're learning.
there's a company that there's an organization I'm working with. They're building influencer network
Okay.
that every time they're having an event, they're
Mhm.
pushing something out. They just give it to these people, and they're like,
Mm,
talk about it, wear it, show
right.
it. That's all I need you to do, and just
Right.
mention us, point
Right.
it.
Right.
That's all. And they're building a network, like a packet. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna like send them all like a media packet. If you don't know what a media packet is, for
Mhm.
those who don't know, it's just like a whole bunch of goodies, a whole
Right.
bunch of stuff in there about the company, about the
Right.
organization that they give you for free, and
Right.
you just kind of go ham, talk about it all the time. So
No, makes sense.
and this is like it's a big organization, and
Position.
that's
Right.
what they're doing. So it's
Right.
just like if they're doing it,
Yeah. We
then
should be doing it too.
they
Right.
behind.
Right. We should be doing it too. Yep. So the other thing I want to talk to you about too, in the same vein, is the other side of that, right? So
Mm,
how do you become an influence, right? Everybody has influence. And one of the things that I started studying this year is something called UGC. So
mhm,
user generated content. I'm not
mhm,
sure if you're familiar with that, but if anybody that's listening, if you're not familiar, so let's say you don't have a business quite yet, and you're not Kylie Jenner, right? You don't have 1 million or 2 billion followers out there that you're influencing, but you want to make additional income. Like Dal just said, these companies are out here trying to find other ways to get their brand out there. They've recognized that brands don't sell things, faces and people sell things. So if you're thinking about making additional income, know that these brands are looking for people all the time. They're looking for fresh faces and studies. Again, use UGC, user generated content, where you, regardless of how you look, regardless of how you speak, because everybody's unique. If you want to make additional money, so it's a good side hustle, you could start creating content. Let's say you're afraid to go on camera, you could also make faceless content. So if you have nice hands, if you could do voiceover, if you could unbox a package, you could also become or join the creator economy on the other side and start being a creator yourself and start earning additional money if you're again not ready to open up the pizza shop, right?
mhm.
Or if you don't have that budget, or if you're just testing out, hey, how can I make additional income? Look into becoming a UGC creator.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, and to kind of give some kind of illustrations, that's why people make videos of them playing games.
Right.
That's why people make
Streaming.
videos
Yep.
of them making food. That's
Yeah.
why people make videos of like that's literally what I used to design for them. What's it called? Overtime.
Yeah.
Overtime.
Yeah. Yeah.
Overtime, the big overtime brand.
Brand. Yeah.
That's literally what they're bigger than that now, but that's what
Right.
they were doing in the beginning.
Wow.
They were just literally like getting a whole bunch of people and they were
Yeah.
like, just go out and video these high school games.
Right.
And that
It
was
just
it.
makes sense.
Just
Yeah.
just go out and video these high
Yeah.
school games.
Yeah.
And they generated their YouTube videos. They waited until they generated a certain amount of money,
Right.
and then they started turning themselves reverse engineering, turning it into like more of a business, a
Right.
brand. Because
Mhm.
now everybody in the high school area, high school industry
Mhm.
was saw it as a reputable brand. It
Of
was
course.
big in the high school. So now
Right.
they could start selling products
Right.
because all the high schoolers now, guess what? They are all
Yeah.
grown up. They're
Right.
college
Mhm.
students, and they're just constantly they stay in the
Recycling.
not
Yeah.
they're bigger in everywhere now. But it's
Right.
just like we will see these people do these things, and we're just like, "Well, why would you do that?"
Yeah. No.
Like,
Yeah. Nah,
but
study. Yeah.
you
Study what's
gotta
working. Yeah.
think
Yeah. There's no
bigger.
secret. Yeah. Think bigger. Yeah.
Yeah,
Study what's working. See what big brands are doing, and see what young people are doing too. So I like to stay close to the youth, see what's catching their attention, see what they're consuming, and as a business owner, find a way to tap into that because young people are the future, and they see the trends before we see the trends, right?
100%.
So, but you're absolutely right, man. So, but if anybody needs to tap in on both ends, it's I think the key word that we're talking about is just content, really.
Hmm.
So, creating content, either if either do it yourself or pay somebody to do it, like an influencer. And if you have a lower budget, find a user generated content creator that could do it, and that could be somebody local too. You don't even have to start off online. It could be your kids, right?
Hmm.
Right? It could be your family members, right? Have the model because again, people want to see sometimes a mix of celebrities and they want to see real actual people using your product, and that'll help them tap in. So maybe The Rock or Barack Obama is too big, but Joe Schmo and Sally Johnson, I could relate to them. They're my neighbors, right? They're using it, so why not jump on it?
So it's funny you say that. So I have a brand that's that's built around crypto, but more of a products, clothing brand or Fly Teddy. And I'm having my kids, because it's more of a playful, friendly brand, sprinkle that into their stuff within Roblox, the things
Right.
that they could go in and build their own things in.
Yeah.
I'm having my kids use the images, some of the colors, some of the things, and put it into that world. Because guess what? All those kids eventually,
Mhm.
now it's not anywhere, but eventually those kids are going to grow up,
Yeah.
and that's what we as people need to understand.
Right.
Eventually, those kids are going to grow up.
Right.
And just like us,
Yeah.
we still love the Clarks.
Oh,
We
for
still
sure.
we still love the polos.
Oh,
We
for sure.
still we still love these things because guess what? That's what we grew up on.
Yep. 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 Yeah. Very,
So
very true.
so it's
Yeah,
just one of them things. Bro,
very, very true.
this has been awesome. I don't want to
Yeah.
take up too much of your time. We got a whole bunch of other episodes to do.
Let's do it. Right.
But what advice would you have, closing, for
Yeah.
someone who's struggling with fear?
It's gonna sound like a cliche, and
Hmm.
it's gonna, yeah, as I say it, it's gonna sound easier said than done. But fear is one of those things that you got to push through. And I always try to drop a book. Anytime I give a point, I try to drop a resource that people could follow it with. And there's a book called Failing Forward. And I'm trying to remember the author. It's the same author of the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. It's going to slip away from me. I might have to Google it. But same author. Either way, while I think about it, the book is called Failing Forward. And earlier, we talked about struggle and obstacles.
Is that
And
John Maxwell?
John Maxwell, there you go.
Yeah.
John Maxwell, Failing Forward. Thank you, sir. It was going to drive me crazy for the next 5 minutes. John Maxwell, Failing Forward. And in the book, he talks about exactly what we opened up the podcast with. And it's all about identifying your struggles, but not being afraid of being afraid. Embrace being afraid, right? So if you have a fear, that's usually the indication that you should be going for it.
Mm,
That's my sign. If I'm scared, that's the thing I need to double down on, right? And
mm,
sometimes, and not sometimes, all the time. If you don't like public speaking, if you can't be on a podcast, you're like, Kaz, I'm just scared. That's God and the universe telling you that you need to jump on the podcast to break through, to explore this skill and develop the skill of public speaking because that's what your business needs, right? So if you are afraid to put your business out there, that means that's exactly what you need to be doing. You need to be
100%.
putting it out there. So fear is a natural. I don't want to say that nobody gets it. It's a natural feeling, right? And I think that even if you do become skilled at, let's use the public speaking, let's say on that. So let's say you do become very good at public speaking, it's still even okay to get a little nervous before you public speak. That's your body working
Hmm.
because you want to do a good job. And there's
Right.
nothing if you're not if you're not scared, I look at you like you're a psycho. Like what's
Right. You probably
like
shouldn't
what's
be doing it
you
anymore.
should, yeah, exactly. If you're not scared. So I think that if you're really thinking about the impact that you can have on the world, you should be a little nervous. And I think that's natural to want to go out there and do a good job. I know that people don't start because they have a fear of failing or thinking, hey, how am I going to look? Don't worry about what other people think. You'll be surprised. You might have one person out there that you could inspire, right? Or one
Hmm.
person out there that you could impact. And if you are afraid of what other people are thinking, knock it off. I'm not going to say don't do it. Just knock that off. Stop it. Behave. Just go out there. If you need somebody to talk to about it, again, I always tell people, find a mentor, find a coach. It's one of the expenses that people don't allocate in the very beginning of starting their business is
Hmm.
finding good people, and if you can't find good people, pay good people
Right.
to coach you through a process. So just in regards to fear, I know that was a long-winded answer,
Nah, I love it.
but yeah, fail forward,
Yeah.
fail forward.
I think one of the things I always tell my kids is that, and I tell myself, is like everyone is afraid at some point.
Mhm.
Fear comes in at some point. Just don't let it influence your decisions.
Right.
And I think, just talking from a kid's standpoint, I say like that, I simplified that for them, but like hearing myself say it to them, like struck a chord for me.
Yourself, right,
And it's just like, it's just that simple. Like fear it's evident, it's going to always be there,
right,
but just try not to let it influence your decisions.
right. Hope just push through. Well
Right.
said. Yep. Yes, sir.
Dude, this has been awesome. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
Like
always.
we could go at this for hours. You just
We
got
really
so
could.
much. Yeah, you got so
We
much
could.